You probably remember The Little Prince as that sweet little book from when you were a kid, right? Full of charming drawings, a boy on a tiny planet, and his love for a single rose. But what if we all got it wrong? What if it's not really a children's book at all, but one of the most heartbreaking tragedies ever written about love, loss, and the crushing loneliness of becoming an adult?
Okay, so let's get right into it. The book basically lays out its entire argument in the very first chapter. It's all about this deep, unbridgeable canyon between how a child sees the world and how a grown-up does. It's a conflict that honestly defines a lot of our lives. I mean, this drawing says it all. The narrator shows his creation to adults, and what do they see? A hat. Something practical, something normal, but he has to literally spell out the truth for them. No, it's a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Right from page 1, we're told that the most important things, the essential truths, are completely invisible to the adult eye. And this quote just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It's not just that grown-ups don't have imagination. It's that their lack of it creates this profound sense of isolation for kids. You're left with two choices. Either give up your way of seeing the world, or spend your entire life being tired of explaining yourself. And that feeling, that's the world the little prince is born into. So this failure of imagination is what drives the prince's whole journey. And let's be clear, his trip across the stars isn't some grand adventure. It's more like a sad, lonely tour through a universe of self-obsessed grown-ups, each one trapped on their own little planet of absurdity. So first up, he meets this king. The guy is decked out in these magnificent robes, sitting on a throne, on a planet that's barely big enough to hold him. He issues commands, like ordering the sun to set, but he only does it right when the sun is about to set anyway. He's the perfect picture of authority for its own sake, all power with absolutely no purpose. Then you have the vain man. His entire reason for being is to be admired. The problem? He's the only person on his planet. He needs applause to feel real, but he's asking for it from a stranger just passing through. It's this really sad look at how empty it is to just seek validation from anyone for anything. But maybe the most devastating portrait is the businessman. This guy is all about matters of consequence. He doesn't look at the stars and wonder, he just counts them. And he truly believes that because he's written their number down on some paper and locked it in a drawer, he owns them. It's the ultimate adult madness, isn't it? Confusing the spreadsheet for the experience. And after every single one of these bizarre encounters, the little prince comes to the same, simple, and kinda sad conclusion. Grown-ups aren't just different. They're illogical. They're lonely. They're fundamentally strange. They're all so incredibly busy, but none of them are actually connected to a single thing that truly matters.
But then the whole story pivots. After all that cold, empty space, the prince lands on Earth and meets a fox. And this one conversation, this single meeting, is the absolute philosophical core of the book. The story stops being a critique of loneliness and becomes this incredibly deep and frankly kind of terrifying lesson on what it actually means to connect with someone. So the prince is lonely, and he asks the fox to play with him. But the fox says no. Why? I am not tamed. And this kicks off the single most important question in the whole story. What does it really mean to tame something?
You know, the original French word here is qui, apprivoiser. We translate it as to tame, but it doesn't mean what we think it means, like dominating something wild. The real meaning is to create ties. It's about a slow, patient, deliberate act of building a bond that is completely unique. What the fox explains is it's a total game changer. He's basically saying, look, right now, you're just another kid and I'm just another fox. We're interchangeable. But through the process of taming, through the investment of time and patience, something magical happens. They stop being random and become absolutely essential to each other. And here it is. This is the line that turns the whole book on its head. This is not a fluffy, sweet sentiment. It is a beautiful but also a terrifying truth. It's a life sentence. It says that real love isn't a feeling that comes and goes. It is a permanent, unbreakable responsibility. Once you forge that connection, you are bound to it, forever. It's a weight, a burden that you choose to carry. And as soon as the fox says this, a light bulb just goes off in the prince's head. This abstract idea suddenly becomes intensely personal. He finally understands his complicated, frustrating, and painful relationship with that one difficult rose he left all alone on his planet. I love this phrasing. The fox says it's the time you have wasted on your rose. Think about it. The prince felt like all that work, putting her under glass, fetching her water, listening to her complain, was just a burden. But the fox completely reframes it. All that wasted time is exactly what gives her value. Her importance has nothing to do with her beauty and everything to do with the history he poured into her. So now, when you look back at this image of him leaving, it just feels tragic. He thought he was escaping a difficult relationship, but he was actually running away from the only thing in his entire universe that gave his life meaning, the responsibility that came from the bond he created. This is the prince's gut punch of an epiphany. He was devastated when he found a garden on Earth filled with 5,000 roses because he thought his flower had lied about being unique. But now he gets it. Those other roses mean nothing to him. They're interchangeable. His rose, with all her flaws, is the only one in the universe that matters because she is the one he is responsible for. And this realization, this massive weight, forces the book's heartbreaking final act. Now that he knows his responsibility is forever, the prince understands that he absolutely must go back. His final choice isn't an act of surrender. It's a deliberate, calculated, and tragic act of love. He seeks out the serpent he met when he first landed, but you have to see the serpent here not as a villain, but as a solution. A terrible one, but a solution nonetheless. The serpent offers a way to escape the physical world, a way to be free from a body that's holding him back. And the little prince says yes. His reason is so simple and so shattering. It's too far. I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy. He can't fly back. So to fulfill the infinite responsibility he has to his rose, he has to shed his physical self. It is an act of pure sacrifice. So how are we supposed to read this? Well, there are two ways, and you can make a case for either. The hopeful reading is that he made it. His body was just an old abandoned shell, and his spirit traveled across the universe back to his flower. But there's the much darker, more tragic view, that he was a lonely little boy in the desert who died from a snakebite. And in that version, the beauty isn't in some magical return. The beauty is in the sacrifice itself, that he was willing to die for what he loved. In the end, we come full circle, right back to the fox's secret, the thing the narrator and the prince knew all along. You only see rightly with the heart. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Love, connection, beauty, you can't count them like the businessman's stars. You can't see them. You can only feel them. But that leaves us with one last haunting question. We can accept that the essential things, the ties we create, are invisible. But what about the responsibility that comes with them? Is that invisible? Because the narrator's grief is very real. The image of the prince's body falling silently in the sand is very real. The love might be invisible, but its weight, its consequences, and its sacrifices are profoundly, tangibly felt. And maybe that is the real tragedy of growing up.